First, I'll call forward Senator Ron Rice, who's here on behalf of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus.
First of all, let me thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the committee members for giving me the opportunity to be here today. I want to indicate that I am a state senator, and I found today's testimony very, very interesting for a lot of reasons. I do not profess to be an attorney, but I do profess to know something about the law and the systems, given some of my academic knowledge and my 26 years of interaction here. And so ultimately I have to vote on this, but today I've come before this great body as the chairman of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, and for the record, for those who don't know who we are the African American elected members of the Senate and the Assembly here in the state of New Jersey. The majority of our members, based on what has been heard, read, and the debates, had great concerns about the nominees. But first of all, I need to preface my remarks by saying to you for the record that it is not often that the leadership of New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus appears before this committee to address members' concern of nominees or of judiciary matters. However, there are times that our constituents expect our caucus majority to be vocal on issues that could have a negative impact on New Jersey residents in general, and minorities and women in particular, if we fail as a legislature to do our due diligence on nominees and legislation. Secondly, for the record, I want to be clear that our members support a system of government that prizes itself on ensuring diversity of participation at all levels for minorities and women. However, it needs to also be made clear that most of us have lived quite some time and have a lot of life experiences. And the one thing we have learned as minorities and women, that diversity cannot be simply for the sake of saying we have diversified our institutions and agencies. Diversity is ineffective if minorities and women are employed or appointed for the purpose of turning back the hands of time on the progress we have made as a people over the years. And I think all of you understand the history of struggle, particularly of women and minorities in this country. With that said, I would like to take a brief moment just to read into the record the position of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, which I've asked the staff to share with all of you here, and I hope they make certain that you get it. Members of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus are aware that today you are considering Governor Christie's two nominations to the Supreme Court. As chairman of the New Jersey Legislative Black Caucus, I wish to bring to your attention that the governor's nominations go against the stated position of our caucus and a long-standing tradition. We thus ask you to act accordingly to maintain the balance and independence of the Supreme Court. In October 2011, we wrote Governor Christie a letter and laid out our position in advance of his critically important Supreme Court appointees, which could be the last new justices to join the court for a decade. We asked Governor Christie to respect the tradition of bipartisan balance on the court. The administration has failed, as we quoted in our letter, to continue a practice dating back to the adoption of New Jersey Constitution of a bipartisan court free from partisan interference. And thus, we will not support a court that is of one party's partisan or ideological stripe, especially when past governors, both Republicans and Democrats, have appointed from both parties to keep it balanced. Unfortunately, it appears that Governor Christie has nominated two Republicans to the court after already nominating one Republican last year, Justice Ann Patterson. Some members of our caucus voted to confirm Justice Patterson because, while we may not share all of her views, that appointment was within the bounds of bipartisan traditions. These appointments, by contrast, in our opinion, are not. And I think the testimony today and the questions raised reveal that, 14 years of belief, 14 years of one-party philosophy doesn't really change overnight. And there are still other questions. By leaving the court with a 5-2 Republican majority, the court would be biased ideologically towards one side in a way that no prior governor or either party has allowed in the past. The governor's claims that Republicans should count as independents because, for example, one nominee changed his long-standing Republican voters registration to unaffiliated last year, which was also still on the record today. That do not resonate with those of us in the Legislative Black Caucus. Our opposition would be just as fervent if a Democratic governor violated this tradition because we recognize and support balance in the court. We cannot support such bias in the branch of government that is under the Constitution designed to be the most impartial. We ask that you respect partisan balance by rejecting the confirmation of these two nominees, instead seek an accommodation that respects both bipartisan tradition and the diversity of New Jersey. The Constitution is supposed to be the most impartial. Finally, on a personal note, as one of the 40 senators who must vote on nominees when their names are presented to the full Senate for a floor vote, this committee needs to know that I support Chairman Guterres' request for additional information in reference to the concerns raised by the public, the media, and legislators regarding the nominee, Phillip Kwon, that is critical to any objective review by this committee. Now, I stayed here all day and I listened, a lot of questions was raised, but it became clear to me there's still a lack of information, or at least there's information that need to be provided so that you can fill the void in some of the questions that really went unanswered if you really heard the response. And so each member of this committee should want that information, including the Republicans. And I understand what my colleagues on the Republican side were saying about the pressure. But all of us endure pressure. But we're not talking about a superior court. We're not talking about municipal court. We're talking about the state Supreme Court that make those final decisions unless we go to the higher U.S. court on people's civil rights, human rights, and other basic rights that are provided by the Constitution of the United States, as well as those here at the state level, our Constitution. And so you should want that information. And without this information, the public perception of the nominee's integrity, veracity, and propriety will remain in question. Whether you like that or not, that's what's going to happen if you can't get the right responses and the information needed to objectively evaluate the decisions that you have to make here today and in the future. And so we would like to just leave the document and want you to understand our position. And I want to reemphasize, diversity is a priority to us. But diversity for the sake of just saying you have diversity is ineffective. Our strength is in diversity. So I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, because I know it's been a long day for you and your members and the other speakers. I just want to be on record, and I hope that all of you would take our concerns in mind. And let me also just say for the record, because I know that I don't do a lot of emails, but I receive a press release on the email, which I don't read that much, but it came from the governor's office, and it indicated that Reverend Reggie T. Jackson endorsed his nominations. But in his endorsement, he said one thing. He said the committee and the Senate as a whole has a responsibility to fully and fairly question and examine these nominees. And that's what I heard taking place today, but yet it was being questioned by some of our colleagues why you want to question and examine. And he also indicated it is his hope that they will, meaning this committee, be called upon to make a significant and important decision. Well, that decision cannot be made because he forgot to say that he recognized that an objective decision would be made when you have all the information that's requested for a thorough analysis and evaluation, so all the proper questions can be raised. So once again, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank the committee.
Thank you, Senator Rice.